Welcome back to the Gateway RV Transport Podcast. Today we wanted to talk about the reasons why we do some of the things that we do. So we're going to talk about logging, so recording our hours of service. So for those of you not familiar with that, is we truck drivers, including our industry, have to document the amount of hours that they drive on a logbook. Most trucking companies use an electronic logging device, so a device that plugs into your truck and records your drive time automatically. The RV transport industry is mostly exempt from that. And so we're going to talk about why those rules exist, including why we log back from trips. We're going to talk about a couple of our other policies, when it's slow, why we often will only put drivers on one unit at a time, why we use the MyQ app, which was the gate app that we use, and why rates are different for different trips.
And these are based off of the frequently asked questions of our current drivers. So it's, I don't know, the general public will probably not find this that interesting. Maybe they will, I don't know. But really these are just trying to address a lot of questions that we get from our current drivers of why are we doing this? This is to try to just help address that to as many people as obviously can listen to this. And hopefully that'll make sense. I would hope that when a driver comes across a situation or a policy, whatever, and they're like, what is the point of this? That hopefully they trust us enough to understand that there's a good reason. And we'll give some of the explanations on some of the most frequently asked questions on some of the things. It's not just because I said so. In fact, anytime that we've ever come across a scenario where we as Gateway leadership we don't really know why we do it that way, we very much evaluate that whole thing. So if there's no good reason why we're doing it, we evaluate it, we kind of tear it apart and build it into there's a good reason for why we do the things that we do. And so Gateway's evolved over the years. We continue to evolve, and we hope to evolve more. So hopefully we have the trust of our drivers of there's a good reason that we do things the way that we do. But these are just a few of those things.
Yeah. And the only other thing I'll add to that before we start on some of those details is I don't like hiding behind that's just the way we do things, or that's our policy, or that's our program. I don't think that that's a good way of addressing things. So like you were saying, there's a reason that we do things. And just as a general business philosophy, I don't like, and we try not to do this, is just say, well, that's just the way we do it, or that's our policy, that's our whatever. There's a reason, and it'd be nice to understand the reason and how what you do plays into a bigger picture. And so, yeah. So that being said, you'd probably be the best person to start with this, is why do the rates vary on different trips?
Yep. So the way that pay works, and I guess this is just giving some background, is our drivers are paid per loaded mile. So we get our trip from here in Indiana. It's going somewhere like Colorado. It's an 1,100 mile trip there, and it's obviously going to be an 1,100 mile trip back empty. Most of what we do is a driver in a pickup pulling a newly manufactured towable RV. They drop it off and they come back empty. They get paid for the loaded miles. So driving 2,200 miles, getting paid for the first 1,100 while they're delivering it in most cases. It used to be very broadly accepted industry standard that you had one or two or maybe only a couple standard set rates. This is what we pay. We pay $1 and so many cents per loaded mile. So if you were a driver wanting to switch companies, or you're just getting into the industry, you call 5 or 6 RV transport companies and you want to compare which one you want to lease on with. Hey, what's your rate? Our rate is X. The industry has evolved, I think, mostly from that to where it's very broad. The range, 10 years ago, if you asked that question, I could say, yep, we pay $1.36. And if you're going to the East Coast, that adds 7 cents. And that was the answer to that question every time. I don't really think you can call any recruiting office for an RV transport company and get such a direct answer anymore because of the way that it's evolved. And so the nuance to it comes to a lot of factors. The size of the unit makes a difference on how much the unit pays, which I think stands to reason. The bigger the trailer, the harder it's going to be on fuel efficiency, as well as on truck and maintenance repairs. So in the price per mile, the size of the trailer will make an impact. geographically where it's going also impacts the rate. If it's going to a place where there's a lot of tolls, so like the Northeast, there's sometimes there usually is a slightly higher rate for those. Park models, so again, size or the style of trailer. So a park model is a large bumper pull unit, and they're not as easy as a small unit. They will pay more. Fifth wheels, depending on their weight, pay more because there's more equipment needed, heavier on your truck. Also, how hot the unit is, and by that I mean if it's most of the units that we get are going to a dealer who is trying to stock their inventory, and most of the time we have a particular window that we want to stay under from the time that we get it to the time that we deliver it. And that is a metric that we track closely, that we're always, weekly look at that number of what's our turnaround time, try to improve it. We have a threshold of where it's acceptable and where it's internally, where it's acceptable, where it's not acceptable. And then at a certain point, it becomes a problem to our customers. And then sometimes we get units that are specifically, this one's already been sold. There's something special about it. We need it there right away. So we have some latitude on how much it pays to try to incentivize it to go faster. Background in boring economics, people will, the price is going to impact the desirability to do it. So there's times where it's a very easy trailer to get dispatched. Everyone that we have will take a 16-foot Gray Wolf to Texas. Nobody will, everyone's happy to do that one. Not everyone's happy to take a 29-foot Catalina to Washington in December. So just because of how easy it is to go, that will also be an impact on how much the pay rate is. Because it's flexible and it's changing, some of our drivers will ask, hey, I did a trip to Omaha 3 weeks ago and it paid this amount. I'm doing the same type of trailer today. Why is it paying different? There are a lot of factors that now just go into the pay rate. We try to be as transparent as possible on what the rate is. That didn't used to be the case, but on our dispatch board or our load board, it has the rate. So, and you can filter it. You can filter what rate pays the most and pick whatever unit pays the most. When it comes to being a successful small businessman, you want to try to do the trips that are going to be the most beneficial to you. And this is kind of a tangent, I guess, but people's philosophies our drivers' philosophies are different. Some drivers want to take a trip. They don't really care where it's going as long as they can be home. So they want to be there and back in a day. That's the way that they operate. Some they want to be able to do a trip that's about 600 miles. That way they get there. So basically 2 days, a day there, deliver, a day back. Some will only want to go east because they feel like they get better fuel economy with the wind behind them. That's a legitimate reason that we've been given as I want to take something going to the east. They also usually pay more. So some drivers don't care where it's going or how many miles it is. They care about what pays the most per mile. Some drivers want as many miles as possible, so they're trying to get to California's or whatever. And then some just want to go to interesting places. So, or they know that there's going to be cheap fuel in Oklahoma, so they want to go somewhere as long as they can go through there. They don't care where they're going as long as they can get cheaper fuel. Basically, whatever somebody's developing a system, be conscious about how you're picking your loads. And we try to make the load board as flexible as possible to where you can easily find the load that best suits you. So to answer the question of why did the load pay rates change, it's basically the industry has changed, and there's now a lot of factors that will impact the rate on a regular basis. So one, get comfortable with the idea of just looking at what the rate is every time you book a load so that you know if it's going to be worthwhile or not. You have more to add to that?
Yeah, there's a few things. So how we calculate miles, we use a program called PC Miler. So sometimes we'll get discrepancies between what you find under the different apps that calculate mileage. So Google Maps might not always have the same thing as Apple Maps, but we go off of a system called PC Miler. So that's trucking mileage routes. So the other thing I'd say, so part of the reason it's changed as well is the technology evolution. So we can now set up things with, and this is what I assume that the other companies is a big factor as well, is algorithms that you can set up on your load boards and your internal process where we can, if something gets older, we can have it automatically bump the rate. based on what region of the country it's in, it can automatically set a rate. So like it's a lot more automated. It's not Jordan and I don't go sit through and say this unit's paying this much, this unit's paying this much, this unit's paying this much. We do a couple of factors. Weight, everything from this weight range to this weight range pays this much above the base rate. And so that's where the range will come from. And so just the technology has evolved. One of the things that we got rid of a few years ago, which I am a big fan that we have done this, is shuttle fees. So we get dispatches every day where we have to have our local shuttle drivers pull units from the factories to our lots. They have to get compensated. And so the way that we used to do it, and the way that a lot of RV transport companies still do it, is they charge the delivery driver a shuttle fee to compensate the shuttle driver that picked up from the factory to the lot. We did away with that and just absorbed that into our internal costs. And so it's simplified it, and it's just been easier for us. So that's one of the factors. So one thing I would just advocate for is, and this would really apply to people that are looking at different RV transport companies, pros and cons of the different companies. The less fees, the better. We've had various fees throughout our history, out of necessity or out of just it made sense at the time. We don't really have many fees anymore. We don't have
insurance
sub fee. It's the rate. There's no shuttle fee coming out. We do a bond. So the reason that we do a bond is to cover damages. So the way that a bond works, so I'll just tangent a little bit about that because I also get questions, is we build up a bond of $1,500 in escrow, where if a driver, for example, I had a driver today dented a trailer, we will probably get a bill for $1,000, dented it pretty significantly, where we'll probably need a new front cap. Rather than him going in the hole, he has a full $1,500 bond. When we get that bill, it will come from his bond, and we'll take a little bit from each check until he builds that back up. That is a protection for us. It's also protection for the driver, so that there is a cushion to cover some of the damages that could happen, which if you do this long enough, things do happen. We're not perfect, and you can make mistakes, or some things could be outside your control.
I've noticed successful drivers, basically it's a forced savings account. It's like we're saving for a rainy day fund. Disciplined drivers are doing that already. So I know drivers that they will have basically their own savings account that has like $5,000 or $6,000 in it for the event of when there's truck needs repaired, a damage that was difficult to avoid, or that, whatever the reason was, the damage that they're going to have to pay for. It's a forced savings account. Basically, that's what this is. So our drivers that are most successful. In fact, I'll have some drivers every once in a while say, hey, I know the bond goes to a $1,500. Can you continue to take trips money out of all of my trips until, forever, just so that I have it's kind of a forced savings account? I usually say, I'm happy to do that. If you just apply a little bit of discipline, you can use that money in savings in some sort of personal financial strategy.
But it's kind of nice. Just, I don't even want them to see it.
And I think a lot of them,
otherwise I'm going to go out and blow it on lotto tickets or something. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That's that is happening. You're not saying that just to be funny. Yeah.
Well, and so another thought about why the rates are what they are, and as an economist, maybe we'll limit you to not talking for 3 hours about this concept. But I had somebody once that said, "Did you know that the RV companies? I don't think they were talking about us, but I mean we're the same thing. Did you know that they charge the customers more than what they pay us, the drivers?" And let me break that down for you a little bit. Why that just shows how, did you know that Walmart sells their products for more than what it costs them to make them? It's like that as a concept. Hopefully people can grasp this without me sounding ridiculous. It's like, that we don't do this for free, and that we also have costs. So hopefully people, again, trust us enough to recognize that we're trying to pay as good as we can, but we also have costs. So and is this what I'm saying makes sense? Uh-huh. There's probably a better way to explain it economically, but you can't, if we paid 100% of what we charged, we would go under almost immediately, because how are we going to pay for our hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for insurance and our lot, to pay our rent, or for our all of the additional costs? So anyway,
there has to be a margin.
There has to be some sort of margin, and so there are costs to running this business. And so just hopefully, the reason I bring that up is just hopefully people trust us to know that we try and pay as good as we can. We also have to cover our insurance costs and things. And so rather than taking it in the form of fees, like charging X per mile for insurance, some trips pay more, some trips pay less, and we use whatever that difference is to keep our business alive.
I think that's one of the reasons that there's not a set rate anymore, is because it was a little bit deceptive, and maybe it does still exist. If you called 10 companies and one company says we pay $10 a mile, I'm going to use crazy numbers, so a driver says, yeah, that sounds pretty good, and the next company says, yeah, we pay $8 a mile. Doesn't sound as good, but what you didn't know is that company A, who had paid $10 a mile, also charges you $6 in fees from insurance or shuttle fees or administrative fees, whatever it is, and so that the rate per mile is really high, but there's a whole bunch of fees that really affect what that rate per mile is. And that's still, there are a lot of transport companies that have made the decision, and that's, great, good for them to operate that way. Like they'd rather show that they have a higher rate, and then you get hit with an insurance fee or whatever it is. We try to just keep it simple.
Yeah.
And that's...
And maybe that was the point I was trying to make in probably not a very good way, but it's just that simplicity, I think, is better for in general, for us internally and for drivers, so that you don't have to worry about these.
And we do try to be transparent with that, and being simple makes it easier to be transparent.
Yeah. And one element of another economic factor about why the rates have changed so much over the years is just the inflation aspect of it. I mean, I remember when we were paying $1.30 a mile. There's no way that you could survive making $1.30 a mile now. At the time, that was pretty good money. So it's, just the relative change of money.
Cost of fuel, makes a big difference.
And then one other thing I'll just say about, I often get asked is why do backhauls not pay as much? And the reason being is because them coming back, the customers, factories are not paying as much because they recognize that bringing something back is cheaper. You have to come back anyway. And when I say cheaper, and maybe you can explain this better than how I am right now, but it's better than coming back empty to take a trip back, even though it's paying less. And it's like, if you can there is an amount, it has to be enough, but anytime you can get a backhaul, it is really helpful, even though the rate comparatively is not nearly as good as an outgoing. And when I say backhaul, so say you go take a trailer down to Texas, then there's a unit coming back from Texas to Indiana. That rate's not going to be as good, but it's also going to be money that you would have otherwise not had, and it is definitely a better situation for you.
Yeah. Well, an economist would say, so that's basically your competition is what drives the price. So outbound freight, people are going to be picky, so if I'm a driver, in this free market world and I want to make the most money, I'm going to take whatever pays the most. And then so I go out to Texas. Now but there's me and 400 other drivers that are now in Texas because there was good rates, good loads going down there. But now there's 5 units that are coming back. You're going to have to come back anyway. And then if it just turned into, say, just for the practice, you're well, who's going to do it for the cheapest? You say, well, I'll do it for the same rate. Well, that guy is going to do it I'll do it for cheaper. And so just because of the level of competition for something coming back, there are a lot of RV transporters coming back from everywhere all the time, empty, happy to make a buck, so the sheer nature of competition is going to have the return rate be driven much lower than the outbound rate because people are coming back for free, coming back empty at their own cost, so if they can offset some of that cost, even if they really don't make anything, if they was able to just to help offset their fuel costs for the whole trip, they are in the positive on that. And so sometimes we'll have drivers that a unit is rejected at the dealership for factory-related issues. It wasn't because of driver-related damage or whatever, but it has to come back because the dealer is not going to accept it because of something, a factory-related issue. And then the driver's upset that, one, they have to bring it back, or two, that the rate is going to be discounted. In my mind, it's what was the rate you were going to get paid to come back? $0. Mm-hmm. Now, even if it's a reduced rate, it's more than it would have been otherwise. If it cost more to bring it back than driving back empty, I could understand that argument. I don't know how often that would ever happen, though.
It would have to be a really low backhaul rate for it to be more expensive. But yeah. Well, anything else on rates that would be helpful for drivers to know?
I don't think so. If a driver does have a specific question, though, I'd much rather they ask than stew.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what hopefully the people will, if they have concerns about things, just ask us. I mean, we want to try and explain it. We're not trying to, we want you to understand why we do what we do. And if there's a better way to do it, we want to do it the better way. And a lot of the reasons that we've changed what we do is because of the feedback that we've gotten. And why we got rid of shuttle fees is we had a lot of people that we got feedback about them and decided, you know what, let's get rid of them. Let's figure out how we can do that just to make it easier, simpler, better, and based on feedback. So one of the other questions we get a lot, and Alyssa is probably the person who deals with this the most often, is sometimes people want to line up a couple of trips. And when we're busy, we like doing that. It's kind of nice. When we're really slow and we don't have a whole lot of trips, we try not to spread them out too much. So we often will impose a temporary policy of dispatching only one trailer at a time to one driver. There is some nuance to that, but in general, we try and do that when it's slow. The reason that we do that is because there's, a lot of other drivers out there too, and we want to make sure that we're taking care of people. And if somebody, one driver's got 3 loads booked back to back, that limits the opportunity for other people to also make a living and stay afloat while it's slow. So that's why we do that.
Yeah. My answer to that question is we try to be fair, and that's the most fair. So if we try to keep everybody going, and it's not, we don't have a preferential driver list. Some drivers are more funny than others, but they're not going to get a better load, or we're not saving trips for them because they've been with us for 15 years or 15 months. We try to be fair, and one trip at a time, especially when it's slow, is fair.
And one, I guess, additional thought about that is because I'll get people say, well, but when you throw a Florida on there, it's gone within 30 seconds. Or when you throw a popular trip, it goes quickly, which is true. It does go quickly. One of the ways that you can increase your chances of getting a Florida is to make, work with us. So in the winter, not so much when it's slow, but in the winter, we're willing to do this a lot more often. It says, hey, I've got this really old unit. I know that you need to get down to Florida to see your cousin, your grandma, whatever. Can you take this old one to Idaho, and I will get the next Florida that I can. I will get you down there because you're helping me out. So we try and be fair. We also know it's like we've got to move our stuff. And some of the stuff that's harder to move, the way that we can make it a mutually beneficial thing is to try and make an agreement with the driver. So if you can knock out this one that nobody else will be willing to take, and I'm glad to offer this to anybody, then I'll give you one of the more popular trips that everybody wants. And so you kind of do something that's difficult, and then you get the easy one. And small units to Florida, easiest stuff we do. Big units to Canada, not the easiest stuff we do. You want to lock in a Florida, take a Canada, that type of thing. You see what I'm saying?
And the reason that it's not a preferential treatment is because that scenario is whoever.
It's open to everybody. Yeah. And so it is true. So when you throw a gravy run on the load board, those go pretty quick. And so people don't take us up on this as often as you think that they would. It's like if you really need to get somewhere, work with us and we'll work with you. And again, the reason I do feel that this is fair is we will do that with anybody. We want to take good care of our customers, and one of the ways that you do that is you got to move everything you get, park models and little units, not just the good stuff, the easy stuff, I should say. One other policy that or practice that we follow that is helpful for people to understand is we have gone through different iterations of security and gates. Right now, we use an app that allows drivers that are picking up after hours to open the gate from their cell phone. Before that, and we still have, as needed, a keypad where you pull up to the gate, you punch in a code, gate opens. In the past, we've had where you hop out of your gate, you find a tumbler padlock.
Hop out of your truck.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Hop out of your truck. And hop out of the truck, you open up the padlock, manually slide the gate open, go grab your unit, lock it back up when you go with the chain and padlock. And in the early days, we didn't have that. We just had an open field. We went from the open field, pick up whenever you want, to gated because of security theft issues. We went from just a padlock gate to, a keypad because security issues, as well as convenience for the driver. That's preferable. Having an automatic gate where you don't have to get out when it's 0 degrees outside and it's muddy and whatever. You can just punch in a keypad. That's even better. When you have problems with that, you move to what we have now. We've got more and better cameras because we've needed more and better cameras. So it's the unfortunate reality is that we live in a world with mostly good people and a few bad actors that make the good people have to do extra steps to protect themselves. And so the reason that we do what we do there is because we can't have people stealing from us.
So during the day even, and this is I understand a slight inconvenience for most drivers. You get to one of our yards, you have to call us during the business hours, and we open the gate remotely. So it does mean sometimes you call, and if 3 people are already in the queue, you got to wait 3 minutes till somebody answers the phone, opens the gate for you. We try to keep an eye on the cameras, and when you see a truck just sitting there, I say, "Oh yeah, there's so and so." Just hit the gate. And just as a quick aside, if you're calling the office to get let in and the gate immediately opens, it's not because we didn't want to talk to you. We're just trying to make it as fast and efficient for you as possible. So I hope that nobody feels like we don't want to talk to them. So we hurry and open the gate before we answer the call, just to let them. We're trying to get you going. It's not that we don't want to talk to drivers
For everybody, but for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we do appreciate that, security is a team effort, and thanks for keeping your eye out for us. If you see something weird, or you see Jordan wandering around the lot at night, that you call it in.
Yeah. So the remote access on the phone is, because we thought that the keypad was enough. It's not enough. At least it's proven that it's not a good enough security, that it has to be done. It's not a broad number that goes to everybody. It's now a limited time access that you can get through your phone. So if you're not a tech person and you want to pick up after hours, you're going to have to figure this part out.
For now. And hopefully as technology becomes more affordable and more options are available to us, we will continue to get better and more versatile systems that still maintain the level of security that we need. And we've looked into a lot of different things and are open to continuing to look at different things. Hopefully it will just keep getting more convenient while still being secure. This is the most convenient way that still meets the standards of security that we need, that we have discovered thus far, that is reasonably affordable. And so if you know something better than that, welcome to hear about it. We may have looked into it, we may not have, and we're definitely open to suggestions.
Yeah. But again, this is kind of just goes back to the beginning. Like, if you feel like it's an inconvenience, getting the gate code access set up, hopefully you trust us enough to know that this is, at least right now, we feel like the best option.
Yeah. Well, is there any other things that you frequently ask questions? I think we'll maybe talk about logging on a separate episode, but is there, sorry for anybody that was really just looking forward to learning about records of duty status and hours of service compliance issues. You'll have to cliffhanger it, because we'll do that one another time. But
exciting.
If anybody's listening to this and they think, well, why do you guys do this? Ask us, and we'll at least answer you. And if we get enough people asking, we'll send out a little podcast episode about it.
At this point, I'd be willing to make a podcast based off one.
Sure, yeah. Well, and if it's helpful, like a lot of times people don't ask the question, but they're like, oh, yeah, I've wondered that too. So the one that I get a lot that I haven't yet figured out a good way to answer is, why does Jordan work at Gateway again?
Well, I've asked that myself, and I still don't know.
Shouldn't he be in jail or I thought about making the joke instead. It's like, isn't he supposed to be like running a Fortune 500 company? Somebody like that should be running this country. So anyway, there you go. Okay. Well,
here first.
Thanks. Send us your questions about why we do things if you have any. Thanks for listening.
Okay.